I'm Jason Aponte. That to my right, or depending on what your perspective is, maybe left, is Dieter Kurtenbach of the Dieter and Hutch Show. Dieter, thanks for joining me, man.
Jason, thanks for having me. Really looking forward to the conversation.
Dieter, I have to ask you, you have to kind of watch yourself when you walk around the facility because the 49ers are going to actually ask you to play defensive line soon.
Defensive line, I get offensive line a lot. I think a chubby white guy, 6'9", 315. If I'm doing well, I get a lot of offensive line. But listen, man, guys have played both ways. Travis Hunter ain't the first. Ben Garland was a defensive lineman. They switched him to offensive line. They might be calling him up and saying, "Hey, do you still got any of those defensive line tendencies in you?" It's a tough scene. It's a tough scene in a lot of positions for the 49ers right now.
Honestly, I would bet on Chris Kosurik being able to get the most out of you, and I bet on those traits and everything as well too. I think hand placement is going to be very important, but
Yeah.
again, we're burying the lead here. So real quick, Dieter, the 49ers, obviously the injuries, and we'll go over all that, and then obviously they have their game tomorrow with the Las Vegas Raiders, but there was a really interesting quote from Kyle Shanahan, which I thought was refreshing because Kyle doesn't really give anything that is he doesn't peel back the curtain a little bit, right? With his thought process. You almost have to kind of decipher it. But he gave a refreshing take on Sirius XM about the expectations for the 49ers. And I'm going to play it for anybody who's not familiar or anything like that, and we'll play the full quote. But I just wanted to listen to it first, and then we'll give our thoughts.
When we got here in 17, we knew we had a roster that we really had to completely change over. And in the first year, we changed 10 out of 11 guys on offense. Joe Staley was the only one who remained, and on defense we did 8 out of 11. So we had a big turnover, and we did it all with we did it all with draft picks. And to me, you don't hit on every draft pick, but we hit on a lot, and we got some difference makers in there, and that kind of became the core of our group from 19 all the way till now. And we brought in a couple different people with Christian and Trent that we did through trades, but everyone else has kind of been homegrown and through the draft. And fortunately, we've been able to keep some of those guys, and that's to me the biggest difference between now and 17 is that some of these guys that have been here are still here, and we got a group of players, whether it's 5, whether it's 7, whatever it is, that are different makers, some borderline Hall of Fame players too. But when you look at the rest of the roster, that's what reminds me a little bit more of 17 and 18, that we need to add a bunch of youth. We need to get guys who are younger, so obviously we can afford to keep some of these players, also having to pay a quarterback and things like that. So whenever that happens, you do depend on young guys. But when you get young guys, it also makes it a little bit more built to last. And we're kind of in between in those areas, because when you got guys like Christian, guys like Trent, Bosa, Fred, there's a number of them. It's hard to kind of say that you're rebuilding, because you got guys there who can carry you. But in the NFL, it doesn't matter how good those stars are. You got to have the right type of team. And we know we got some young guys that haven't done it yet. But that's what's so big about this year. It's what's so big about camp is we're finding out a lot about these guys every day. And it'll be interesting who ends up being a part of our 53, which to me is more open now than it's been in about 6 years. But even on day one, that's not going to be it. Like week 1, I expect our team in week 12, week 13 to look a lot different than it did in week 1. And my whole goal is that we get better throughout the year and find a way to hopefully get into those playoffs. And once you get into those playoffs, then you got a chance at anything.
Okay, so the mass hysteria starts with comparing this team to the 2017-2018 team,
Right.
which I think he's just comparing situations. I don't think the two teams are even remotely close. But
yeah, it's true. I think it's if you want to just take the term 17 and 18 teams and remove the context, of which there's 2 minutes of context, then absolutely it's ridiculous. Like the 17 team is a god awful football team. 18 team should have been better. They won 4 games, so they won 10 games total in those 2 years. There is, that should have people up in arms. But the difference is, as Kyle said 4 or 5 times, Trent, Bosa, Fred, Brock, McCaffrey, you have these high-end players. What's interesting to me is there's not a lot of teams in the NFL that operate on, and I'm just going to say it, and Warriors fans are going to get really triggered. They're doing 2 timelines right now, baby. That's what they're doing. They're deciding, hey, we're going to see if these top tier guys, and Kyle was right, borderline Hall of Fame players, and we can get into that conversation next offseason. We'll see what we do this season. I've already had it like 20 times. Borderline Hall of Fame players MVP caliber players, defensive player of the year caliber players, best offensive tackle in football, those kind of guys, are they good enough to hold the ship up while the rest of this team, and I mean the rest of the team, figures out what the hell they're doing? So the 49ers have been keen on telling people behind closed doors, we're trying the Rams model. We're doing the Rams model. Well, that's a very aspirational take, because there's a lot of teams that try to go with young guys and hope they come around halfway through. That's also the Browns model. That's a lot of teams that are crappy. The Jets model for years. And again, that puts a ceiling on what you can be as a football team. If you're holding it down and hoping that you get great injury luck, unlike what they had last year with your top end guys, and that you can coach and develop, which they certainly should have the coaching staff. We'll see if they can get, they have the players to bring those guys up to where you are like a Rams team the last 2 years, where they've kind of hit their stride halfway through the season, get in the playoffs, see what happens. And then one time, a couple of, 4 or 5 years ago, they got in there, saw what happened, and won the Super Bowl. If that's the model, that's fine. It is very high risk. It's high reward, but it's very high risk. And I guess comparatively to last year, everyone should feel like the 49ers are in a better spot. But the risk from last year is still clear and present to me. And in fact, I think that the floor might be even a little bit lower than it was last year, because you don't have any, by design, right or wrong, this is how it's going to be. You have no veterans on this team that aren't highly paid veterans. Like Jawan Jennings is like, I'm a veteran. I should be highly paid. Like I'm the last middle-class man on San Francisco. So the idea that they're going to go up and figure it out as they go along. Okay. I think they have the coaching staff to get it done, right? I really do. They should have the best coaching staff in football. Do they have the players, the young players, to get it done? Last year, they didn't. Their depth was tested immediately. They didn't have the young players to get it done. You have a lot of guys who are now in year 2, some of which are really in year 1, if we're being honest, like a guy like Jacob Cowing and even Pearsall to a degree. Now you have a bunch of literal rookies, some of which are not ready for prime time, some of which look ready to rumble. And you're hoping that you can get through the hard part of your schedule at the beginning and then get to the softer back end and then really start going. For this team, with the injury luck that they're having right now, the injury luck that, frankly, they've had all but 2 years since Kyle Shanahan's been here, and those 2 years they went to the damn Super Bowl, it's a big ask. And I'll tell you this, I was talking to Larry Krueger last night, and he was saying, I wish the 49ers would pick a lane. Well, the 49ers are not going to publicly create any real expectations. They're not going to say, hey, we're trying to win. I mean, everyone wants to win the Super Bowl, but they're not saying it's Super Bowl or bust this year. Clearly, that ship has sailed. And they're also not going to say it's a rebuild for all the reasons that Kyle listed off in those 2 minutes there. So which path are they on? They're on whichever path shows itself. They're going to take whichever one they manifest out in the real world. And if they look really good early in the season, which is something they've been striving to do and becomes harder and harder to do when you have 20 players out for a joint practice yesterday. But if they are hit the ground running and they win 2 out of 3 or even all 3 division games in the first 5 weeks, and it's like, hey, man, y'all were sleeping on the 49ers and they got superstar players and great coaches and these young guys are ready to rumble, then we're going to say, hey, they just reloaded and the sky's the limit. And if they suck the first couple of weeks, if they do that Shanahan September swoon that they so often like to do, which seems more and more likely given where we're at now on August 15th. And all these young guys are out there. They don't know what the hell they're doing. If they do that, they're going to be like, I don't know why anyone thought we were going to do anything. We're clearly playing for 26. And there's truth in both of those statements. Like there's truth in that. And I'll say this. If you don't know how to feel about the 25 team, all signs point to that the 26 team should be really, really good. I'm excited about 26 as we enter 25. I just don't know what 25 is going to be. And again, we're already behind the 8 ball here a little bit as an operation because of all of these injuries.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you said that part about everyone says that they want to win a Super Bowl, right? Well, I don't think the New York Giants believe we're going to win a Super Bowl this year.
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
They'll delude themselves for a while. We have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Yeah, then what happened?
Right. So this idea that has been thrown out there with these comments about Kyle Shanahan saying, we're punting on the season. I don't think that's true at all. And I also think that him saying, let's get into the playoffs and see what happens. If anybody remembers, aside from the 2023 Brock Purdy led 49ers, it was just let's get in. And then what did all the analysts and pundits say? Nobody wants to see the 49ers. They're hot right now. That's the idea, right? Like, that's what he's talking about. I prefer this sort of transparency rather than we're running it back or revenge tour 7.0 or just like I prefer this.
Yes. And let's maybe not call it transparency. Honesty. It's honest.
Yeah.
This is Kyle for the first time thinking, oh, no one's going to hear this. I can just be honest. Because when he deals with local media, he knows that everything that he says is going to get reverberated in our $8 million or 8 million person window in the Bay Area and nationally, because the Niners still have a pretty damn good national brand. I mean, it's not the Cowboys where they're going to be talked about on First Take, but First Things First might talk about it. And, I don't know, all the first shows. And so Kyle, when he's at a podium, when he's doing the press conference, he's thinking to himself, just don't give him anything. He'll answer questions about schematics that, he'll give you a little quip here and there. I've never felt Kyle to be like flat out lying, but I do think that he is willfully ignorant on a lot of things.
Right.
That I don't know. So Christian said he could play tomorrow. Christian's getting on a plane to Germany tomorrow. So I don't know who you are from.
Or the Jawan Jennings thing where he's like, I don't know if it's business. You have to ask him. Like, come on.
Right.
Like,
well, then we know what that means. I mean,
right.
So he's very guarded. He's smart enough. His dad, obviously, he knows that ball game, and all power to him. But I think here's a conspiracy theory with little consequence, and probably I'm the only one who thinks this is interesting. My bet is that Kyle Shanahan gets into the car every morning, drives to the facility, and is listening to Sirius XM NFL radio. And when they brought him on, he's like, oh, I like these guys, and I'm the only person who listens. So I'll just be honest, and they wouldn't aggregate this. He was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is 49er fans are looking for something after last season, right? And they believe that, this team, is going to find a way to get to the Super Bowl. While I'm not going to tell any fan how to feel, realistically, and now even more realistically on August 15th, given all these injuries and the way this offense is going to look, and I'm glad you mentioned the September stuff because only one season, really, the 49ers have gotten off to a really hot start. That was 2019.
That's right.
So, you kind of have to expect this almost, if we end up week 3, week 4 saying, hey, the offense is getting it together and they're getting ready to roll and the players are there, right? You can't afford that now if you feel like that. And my theory on all of this is, I'm going through the NFC and I'm looking at, right, it's 7 teams that make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Washington, Philadelphia, whoever wins the NFC South, then probably 3 teams from the NFC North, the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers. But what if the Bears take a leap? That leaves one spot, the NFC West title holder. I don't think 2 teams are going to make it from the West.
I'm not high on Washington this year, even though Jaden Daniels. That roster around him. Now, I will say this. My scouting report on Jaden Daniels 2 years ago was that he's football Jesus. Like, he's inexplicably great. There's no reason that someone that skinny should be able to play with that much force. He might be football Jesus. So in him, all things are possible, I suppose. I don't know, but I look at that Washington roster and I'm like, Adam Peters, what are you doing, baby? Like John Lynch gets a lot of flack. That comes part and parcel with the job. I'm not saying that he's great at his job. But the idea that Adam Peters was the genius behind it all, I think has fallen apart pretty fast. And I told people this in the moment. I'm like, I think Adam is a great guy to have in the room. I wouldn't necessarily. Adam's also very good at making sure that none of the bad decisions that came in that room stuck to him.
Oh my God. Thank you, Dieter. I've said this over and over. It's every good pick is Adam Peters. Every bad pick is Kyle Shanahan's or John Lynch's. Yeah. And, I guess I look at the addition of Laramie Tunsil. I think that offense is tailored so much around Jaden Daniels' strengths. They've got to get Terry McLaurin in there, right? And then, I just wouldn't be shocked if Deebo Samuel, he won't turn back the clock until 2021, but I'm sure he's going to have a good season. They're going to start throwing him those tunnel screens and getting him the ball. I'm just okay. So like, let's say that
Who's going to run the damn ball? Brian Robinson was one of the statistical worst running backs in the NFL last year. Austin Eckler's been washed for 3 years.
What's the kid's name? Merritt? What the
Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt? Good player. Yeah. I like him. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a legitimately good answer. Right now, here's what you got on the Commanders, and I apologize for hijacking it. Here are your top 2 receivers going into the season as it stands today. Chris Moore. Anyone know anything about Chris Moore?
Hey, really? Chris Moore?
Yeah, Luke McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds awesome. You have 3 move receivers. I don't know who's playing X. It ain't Deebo. How about Jalen Lane? Anyone like him out of the 4th round? KJ Osborne. How many teams has he been on now? Hey, Michael Gallup is still alive and playing football. I guess he's your X receiver. So when they signed River Craycraft the other day, another Adam Peters hit, like, to say that they need Terry McLaurin's an understatement. And I look at the offensive line. I'm not sold on it. I don't like the running back situation outside of Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt. They got a lot of special teamers and Brian Robinson who will get you 3 yards and then run into his guard's ass. And the defense can I mean, they had question marks at cornerback. I love Trey Amos coming out of Ole Miss, but you're still starting Marshawn Lattimore. That can't be good. Oh, wow. And I think Bobby Wagner. I mean, I'll eat crow on this. I thought Bobby Wagner was done 2 years ago. Yep. He comes in and he has a dominant year. He was absolutely fantastic. They're going to start on their defensive line. Dorrance Armstrong, good player. Dorrance Armstrong. Deron Payne, very good player. I like Deron Payne, though he's a little bit older than most people think.
Yeah.
Javon Kinlaw and Von Miller.
Yeah.
That's your defensive line. I mean, this is not a good defense, save for Mike Sandstrill, maybe Harris, maybe Amos. I don't know if Wagner and Luvu can repeat it again. Their defensive line's nothing to do it. Their offense is one dude. I mean, if the Washington Commanders make the playoffs this year against a first-place schedule, because last year they got a 4th-place schedule. It was one of the easiest schedules in recent NFL history.
They get a 2nd-place schedule, right? Because didn't Philly win their division?
Oh, that's fair. That's correct. Yeah. Appreciate it. But it's a much tougher schedule. It's one of the tougher schedules in the NFL.
And nobody's gonna be shocked at them coming. Like everyone sees it coming now.
If they make the playoffs this year, Jaden Daniels truly is football Jesus. And by the way, if you think that the Washington Commanders are making the playoffs and you're a betting man, you better be putting some money on Jaden Daniels to win MVP because he ain't getting any help along the way.
Yeah, well, the Zach Ertz erasure hurts me a little bit. I'm just joking.
I mean, listen, Zach Ertz erasure is tough. He's a very good tight end. He's a tier 3 tight end.
Yeah, and he's much older in age, right? Like, it's just what they got out of him last year. You know, you would have thought Ben Sinnott would have taken over that job right away, but he doesn't have it.
That was a guy that I was absolutely wrong on coming out of school. Yeah. He doesn't have it, and it was pretty clear early on. Now, I actually made a call about him 6-8 months ago. I'm like, well, it's good. And they're like, yeah, just not there. You would think Kansas State, tough guy, all this stuff. It doesn't always go 1 for 1.
So, all right, let's just say, for argument's sake, that Washington doesn't make it. So then that means there'll be 2 probably NFC West teams, right?
That's my guess.
Now, the big question, and I know this is a 49ers show and everything, but it still correlates to the 49ers. What the hell's going on in Los Angeles, right? Are we about to literally now? My tinfoil hat theory is they're holding out hope for Matthew Stafford right now, but when you hear Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to play the entire preseason. What does that tell you, Dieter?
I don't think it tells me anything as it pertains to the Rams because the Rams have treated preseason like a burden that they have to carry. So Sean McVay's official opinion on preseason is anyone who I need ain't playing. And I legitimately think that they keep, what is his name? The 3rd string quarterback? Stetson Bennett. Apologies. I think they keep Stetson Bennett around solely for the purpose of preseason football. They have no purpose for him otherwise. He has no chance of playing anywhere else. But they're like, we can keep him. We need a preseason quarterback, and we don't want to be going out here and getting Connor Bradley on a whim. So I wouldn't read into it because it's the Rams. That's not to say that what's happening with Matt Stafford isn't a big deal. It's not to say that he's going to be there. But there would be almost no difference whatsoever in how they would go about their business if he was healthy. I mean, I don't think they would play Jimmy, but maybe a series or two every game if Stafford was healthy. So I don't read too much into it. And I'll tell you this about the NFC West. You could legitimately throw a randomizer. There is no order that I wouldn't believe for the final outcome of the NFC West this year. And that's what makes this training camp, one, the injuries, and two, the general. Last year it was entitlement. This year it's just casualness towards training camp. That's what makes it so frustrating for me from the outside with the 49ers, because if they can get 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 in the first 5 weeks against their division, they're set for the season. Mm-hmm. Like, they're in a really good place. They're playing with house money at that point. There's a world in which they are out of the race for the NFC West by week 5 on a Thursday night. They get to watch everybody else on the weekend of week 5, and they know they have no chance of winning the division in earnest because, well, they lost all 3 games. Arizona can beat them, no question about it. Seattle's about to do some stuff in week 1 that is going to.
I'm not happy for that game. I'm not excited about that game.
And you know what? Honestly, when the schedule came out, I was excited for that game from the 49ers perspective, on the basis of they don't get to dick around now. Last year, they just dicked around the entire. Super Bowl hangover was a real thing. You had all the off. I was at training camp, and I'm like, dude, this is boring. These men are playing professional football and 20 feet in front of me, and I find it boring. Like, professional football, if you are in the close proximity of it, should elevate every bad hormone and enzyme in your body. It is a viscerally scary thing to be near, even if you've done it 100 times a year, every year, your entire life. Like, the physicality, the thump, the speed should always be impressive. And last year, for the first time in my professional career, covering Dolphins, Rams, a bunch of NFL teams for Fox, and now with the 49ers on a regular basis, Raiders as well. It was the first training camp where I went where I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I'm legitimately, people say I'm not feeling it. Like, I was not feeling it. There was no fear in my body. I wear this like stupid whoop strap. There were no spikes saying, hey, you're freaking out, man. Like, this dude's going to kill you. Like, it was nothing. It was nothing. I might as well have been watching TV. And this year I'm getting a lot. I mean, there's more. It's better, but I'm getting a lot of the same sense. And I get why they have to be a little bit more pared back now with all these injuries. But I thought the week 1 Seattle was such a you better hit the ground running moment when that schedule came out, that it's like, dude, you cannot be casual about this. And here they are being kind of casual about this. And I'm sure they'll, throw out this rail. We'll ramp it up. We'll ramp it up. Once that Chargers game's over, we got 2 weeks. We're going to ramp it up. That's what they said last year. How'd that work out? I know they played well in week 1. After that, so, and Mike McDonald week 1.
So, week 1 last year is the New York Jets. The Jets are going to jet. It doesn't matter who's going to be there, right? And that was, that was a soft landing. But,
who was their coach?
Yeah, some guy who we're really happy to have back. Yeah. But what I'm looking at with Seattle, right? First of all, we're talking about a team that relatively gets out of the gates slow. We don't know who are going to be the starting wide receivers, right? Yeah. And in the same breath, I watched Seattle in the first week of the preseason, and I watched Mike McDonald throw out this vanilla defense that was doing some things that Baltimore was doing, and now, without the personnel, by the way, now the personnel is there. You know, Boye Mafe is ready to take a step. You add the kid from Maryland as safety. Like, this defense is going to be scary. Couple that with the fact that the 49ers right off the rip don't start well. That game is going to be an icky 17-14 affair.
Oh,
14.
they should be so lucky, because let's not forget Christmas Day 2023 when Brock Purdy was just, he had no chance. He had no chance against a Mike McDonald defense. Now, again,
that's Baltimore though.
Baltimore. But let's be clear about what happened at the end of last year for Seattle. As predicted, they started to figure it out. They finally got a pass rush going, and they were one of the best pass rushing teams in the final 6-8 weeks of the season. And suddenly, they get Ernest Jones in the middle, and suddenly it all starts to look a little bit more like Baltimore. And you still got the dudes. I don't know what they're going to do with Nick Emwari. I don't know if he'll ever pan out, but I wouldn't have given him I wouldn't have given him that chess piece. Like sometimes you got to draft strictly so that the other guy can't have them. You got to pull that off like once a draft. And Nick Emmanwari, who, again, total boomer bust prospect. I hated his film, but I love the traits, and I love the possibilities there. I mean, he's their Marlon Humphrey if it pans out. Marlon Humphrey's one of the most impactful players in football. And, Witherspoon's still there. You got Kobe Bryant. I mean, they got some dudes who are out here, and they got a guy who now, with a year under his belt, is willing to do the funky stuff that he did. I have a bad feeling in my gut. I know I'm a pessimist and I get said doomsday or all this stuff, man. Like you were watching the same thing I was watching in preseason. That was their vanilla stuff, and that vanilla stuff was complex. Yeah,
I mean, look, again, just watching this, and when Mike McDonald was brought over, everyone's saying, "Oh my God, he's bringing the Ravens defense over." I was like, "Well, is he bringing Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith and Matabike with him?" No, he's not. But now they add DeMarcus Lawrence, and they already had Boye Mafe, who was already turning it on. You already mentioned all those guys in the secondary, and if you watch that Raiders game, this is the vanilla stuff. And what I want to ask 49ers fans is, if you were really excited about what Robert Saleh was showing you early on in that game, you can't dismiss what Mike McDonald was showing in that game and just say, "Oh, it was preseason," right? Like if you're looking at that Saleh tape and you're saying, "Oh, look at how complex the Saleh tape is and what he's doing and what he's going to bring," you can't just say, "Oh, well, Mike McDonald, who cares? That was preseason against the Raiders." No. It's the same thing, and none of those guys were playing for them.
Yeah, and let's also throw this into the mix. I mean, they got Clint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator.
That helps too, and
people want to go in on say, "Oh, Darnold ain't that good." Well, Darnold got made in a Kyle Shanahan system, right? And then the Vikings took the chance on him. Goes to Kevin O'Connell, wide zone, Shanahan-like system, perhaps even better, if we're being honest here. I like Minnesota a lot this year. And now, what's he going to do? He signed with the guy who's coming from the Shanahan system. There's not going to be I don't know if Sam Darnold's good enough, but I don't think there's some learning curve early in the season for Sam Darnold. And by the way, you're getting the healthiest Kenneth Walker you're going to get all year. You're getting the offensive line's a question mark. It's always a question mark. It's been a question mark since 2005 for that team, frankly. But like Gray Zabel's got it. They finally, I feel, in Ulu, I can't pronounce his name. Apologies. In Ulu, they finally have a center that's competent. That changed the game for them late last year. And this Torrey Horton kid looks like he's going to be able to start for them. On top, I mean, and then move Kupp to the Z, and then you can move Jackson Smith and Jigba around. Jake Bobo's a good player. I like
Elijah
Cody
Arroyo.
White. I like Ricky White. They got two Whites that I like, exciting Whites. This is not a team. If the Seattle, when I said, I really mean this. Any team in the NFC can win it. Any team in the NFC can go in last place. And Seattle is absolutely that case. And I think a lot of people don't want to see Seattle as a possible winner of the West. I see it. Arizona, I have to stretch a little bit because I know what happens to Kyler Murray once he gets hit. And then about halfway through October, he's like, "See you guys, I'm out of here." But maybe this is the year that doesn't happen. I mean, I'm not betting on it, but if that doesn't happen, they got the dudes. They got the dudes, and they got the defensive coordinator. And then the Rams are going to ram. So the Niners really do need to hit the ground running. And they haven't started even warming up yet, if we're being honest.
Right. And just, to cap the whole Seattle thing, again, I'm just talking about in week 1. And if we're talking about how the 49ers are starting slow and what this defense, like that game is going to be icky, muddy. I'm staying away from it as a bettor. Like I don't want any, that game's a pick 'em right now. I don't care what the line is.
I think Niners are at 2.5 right now. And I would, if I'm being honest, I'm with you. I'd probably play the under. And I would absolutely do an alternate line bet on Seattle by like 2.5 or 3.
Yeah. Look, and the 49ers should win that game. They should, right? Depending on who's there.
Vegas
they should
says
win
so.
that game.
Yeah.
Right. that game is still going to be icky and weird and annoying. All week one football, that's week one football across the board in the NFL, like, is just weird, right? Like, the worst team ends up giving the Super Bowl champs a fit in week one, whatever. They end up escaping.
Didn't the Patriots beat the Bengals in week one last year?
Right, exactly. Like, things like that, right? Like, it's just, it's going to be week one in general.
And the 49ers look good last year.
The 49ers,
That's how you know.
did. They sure did. With Brandon Ayuk, all the vibes were there and everything. But
Saubert was like a dominant force. How'd that go?
Let's pivot back to the 49ers in general, right? So I'm of the mind that this defense, while we're very excited about Robert Saleh, and I loved what I saw against the Denver Broncos first team and what he was able to do. Chase Lucas looked really good. Kalia Davis is looking good. There was some moments on that defensive line. While the box score doesn't jump out at you, you got Alfred Collins holding dudes up and you got guys shooting through the gap. That's exactly how you draw it up, right? And this is against a Denver Broncos team that a lot of people are high on, very high on. Now, the question that I have is, I really just believe that this season, if you're going to win games, it has to be on the back of the offense. This is a big Kyle Shanahan and the offense season in which they have to put up points, not field goals. They have to score touchdowns, and they have to mitigate the ups and downs of this defense. This has got to be a Kyle Shanahan masterclass this season, right? You pay Brock. You still have Christian McCaffrey. You still have George Kittle, which, by the way, just bubble wrap them and get them ready for week one. I don't want to see them in anything, right?
Yeah.
This offense has to carry this team at least during the early parts, and that's what Kyle was talking about in that quote that we played earlier from SiriusXM. Was, we just need to figure it out. He's talking about the defense, and he's hoping that by the time the playoffs roll around and they're in it, that they're hot enough where, again, they become that team in 2021. Oh, you don't want to face the 49ers.
Totally.
They can go in and do it, but it has to be the offense, right, Dieter?
Yes, and if things were breaking a bit different than they currently are, I'd feel a lot better about that. Because you're getting the healthiest you're getting of Christian McCaffrey week one, right? You're getting the best George Kittle version you're going to get. Though, I mean, Kittle's been pretty durable, but at this point in his career, I think it's ridiculous to expect a full 17 from Kittle. It's just not fair. Right. You're getting Trent Williams at his fresh. You're getting everybody at their freshest, and you got Brock with a little bit of froth, right? He's gotten into his rhythm and all that. The issue that I have, and the reason that I'm not bullish on, I'm not down on their offense, certainly. I think that they could be a 500-point offense this year. Mm-hmm. But my real concern is, like, how many targets can Ricky Pearsall get in one game? Because for the first 3 games, he might get all of them.
All of them.
He's the only viable receiver on this team in week one. You might say, what about Juwan Jennings, Dieter? And I'll say, I don't think Juwan Jennings' calf is getting anywhere anytime soon, because it seems to have a direct correlation to the amount of money he gets. And they ain't paying him. If they wanted to pay him, they would have paid him when they paid everybody else. I don't disagree with them not paying him, by the way. Right? Mm-hmm. You played 1 year. You couldn't get through the entire year. There were clear points of diminishing returns as an ex-receiver. He was outstanding. He's a winning football player. You want to keep him around, but he's not an alpha, right? He is somebody who needs cushion off the line of scrimmage. He's someone who needs situational upside. There's not a knock on him. He's a 7th-round draft pick. He has generational wealth now. I think he's going to continue to be a winning football player for a very long time. He wants to be paid like a true ex-receiver, but he ain't. And when we finally got Ricky Pearsall and he finally figured out where the hell he needed to line up last year, because Ricky Pearsall did not practice football for an entire season, you say, oh, well, he came back in week 8, Dieter. They don't practice football in week 8. They do walkthroughs in week 8 because you're too banged up. Maybe they should be doing walkthroughs in training camp now, too, because they're too banged up. But they're certainly on a 53-man roster with a practice squad. They're not doing real football after like 3 or 4 weeks. And Pearsall comes in. Debo's having to show him where to line up. Credit to him. That's why he had the C, I suppose. And all of his routes are being run to the wrong depth, wrong timing, all this. When they finally were able to, he just had so many reps because there was no alternatives. When they finally were able to figure out what to do with him, he kind of exploded. And he looks that way in camp this year. He looks fantastic. Your number 2 receiver is Jacob Cowing. He has 4 catches in his NFL career.
That's crazy.
And we all go, oh, man. And I will mea culpa this straight up. You watch him in OTAs and minicamp, and you're like, wow, Jacob Cowing looks awesome.
I love the player.
Mm-hmm. He looks a little bigger. He's such a crisp route runner. And every year I do something like that. Every year we all do something like this. It's not just me, but I'm going to wear it. Of course he looks great. They're not tackling him. He's 5'10" and 180 pounds. He looks great on air. He looks great when you're playing 7-on-7s. What happens when they can take your head off? It's a little bit different. And I've noticed that, Cowling, since he's been back at practice, and it's only been a couple of days, where is he? Where is he?
Yeah,
Can't find him.
About him yesterday. Yeah.
Can't find him. Now, I'll say this. Russell Gage looks good.
Yeah.
I'm not banking on Russell Gage.
And that's
not a viable option.
No, the thing is Russell Gage is supposed to be found money. You're not depending on Russell Gage.
Ricky Pearsall's supposed to be the fourth receiver on this team in an ideal world. He's now your one, your two, your everything. And I understand that Demarcus Robinson, who is a very good player, he might be the most average receiver in the NFL. And I mean that as a compliment. There are a lot better and there are a hell of a lot worse. Like, Demarcus Robinson is there. He's steady. He's going to catch ball. Like, he's a great player. He ain't there for the first 3 weeks. At some point, he's not going to be there for you. And so, no Ayuk. And the idea that Ayuk's coming back in week 6, it's like, y'all need to read some deeper quotes, because Kyle's like, I start looking at week 6 as the return date. It could be week 10. It could be week 3. And he was talking about a whole cast of characters for the week 6 thing. I don't know why he chose week 6. I suppose it's post mini bye. Yeah, it was post mini bye.
Yeah, so week 5 is the Thursday game.
That's
and
right.
also the 4 week thing, right? Like, if you can't, you want to put him in
yeah,
there.
so and there's no way after, they're not going to pull you off of IR and then have one practice that's a walkthrough and play you against the Rams. I mean, they're not going to Baker Mayfield.
Not in a short week. No. So that's why week 6 has to be.
So it's week 6. That's why he has that number there. Brandon Ayuk ain't playing in week 6. He's not playing. If Brandon Ayuk gives you anything this year, I'm going to steal your term, he's found money. Like, Brandon Ayuk's playing for next year. That was a catastrophic knee injury. Some guy, Jerry Rice, came back from an ACL after like 8 weeks one time.
Yeah.
Like, he's different. He's Jerry flipping Rice. But, like, there are some guys who go, like, modern medicine, ACL, that's like 9 months. And he got halfway through the system. Like, he should be good now. No, he tore his ACL, his PCL. They were coming up with ligaments that he tore. He tore his meniscus, his knee. And people just kind of look at me flippantly when I say this. His knee exploded. There was a bomb that went off in his knee. All of it had to be rebuilt from scratch. He's got like a new hip, except it's a knee. And I can appreciate that he is a world-class athlete, that he is a hell of a hard worker, and that he is doing everything in his power to be back as soon as possible. But to expect him to be Brandon Ayuk, 75 catches, 1,200 yards. To expect that guy to show up at any point this year is ridiculous. It's found money. And it might happen after Halloween, after Thanksgiving, at Christmas. Who knows? It could happen. But the idea that it will happen is fanciful. Now, Jennings, I don't know what I got theories on it. And if I'm Juwan Jennings and I'm watching, Juwan Jennings is a big NBA fan, right? And if you watch the NBA playoffs.
Oh, no. Don't say it. Don't do it.
Okay, so I won't say it. No, but you know what I mean.
Yes, of course.
And if I'm Juwan Jennings
attached to this, yeah.
Yeah, and if I'm Juwan Jennings, twice in the playoffs. Call up Dame Lillard. Ask him how it went. Like, this is
Halliburton.
It's an epidemic in basketball. Juwan Jennings is a huge basketball fan. Juwan Jennings had a calf injury last year, didn't practice, comes back in, gets all these reps as the one, and now it's the other calf. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm trying to get paid, I'm in the last year of my contract. Well, let's just run the calculation here for Juwan Jennings. Let's say my team really needs me. All right. They need him out there. Now, maybe they don't need him out here on August 15th, but they need him out there in week 1. They're going to pay me like $7-8 million this year. I'll take it. But for him, he's thinking 20, 21, 25. How healed does that calf have to be? Because that's the finickiest injury in all sports right now. No one knows what's right, what's wrong. No one knows if it's ever healthy. I mean, in the basketball stuff, it just seeps into everybody's mind. And if I'm Juwan Jennings and I'm thinking I'm going to have a monster year and I'm going to get a $20 million contract, I'm sure as hell not coming back anytime soon and risking making if he tears his Achilles tendon, he plays on the veteran minimum for the rest of his career. Yep. They'll never trust him. No one will ever trust him with big money. So he can't risk it. He cannot risk it. And I feel bad for him because I believe that he wants to be out there. He cannot risk it fiscally. And the 49ers cannot risk him giving him that kind of big money just to get him out there, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we are, and so best case scenario now is he comes out and he's rusty as hell. And he has nothing with Brock because they don't have any reps together. And it's just the Ricky show. And thankfully, Juwan Jennings is there, so it's somebody else. And then it's really Russell Gage. And I'm with you 100%. This team needs to hit the ground running. This team's offense needs to carry it while all of the children on defense figure out what the hell they're doing out there. That's the Rams model. But the Rams model also had, Puka Nacua and Prime Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford and, Kyron Williams out there who you couldn't take off the field. And yeah, I don't see much difference between a Stafford and a Purdy. In fact, I prefer Purdy, even though, one of them's won a Super Bowl. But man, I'm really concerned. You need the passing game to be there, particularly in week 1, where Mike McDonald's going to be throwing stuff at you. You're going to have to audible out of a lot of calls. So if you want to just go in there and do what you did against the Jets last year and just say, let's keep it vanilla, let's just run the ball down their throats. Okay, good luck with that against Seattle. Good luck with that against Seattle, because they'll just go full fire blitz on you until you could prove that you can pass the ball. And as good as Brock Purdy is, I don't know if they can pass the ball in this offense unless it's a dig route to Pierce all over the middle.
Yeah, and you know what? And a little bit more about your Jennings thing is, he's not particularly fast. And if there's ever been a receiver who has benefited from Kyle Shanahan's scheme and getting people open, it's absolutely him. His game is so predicated on winning 50-50 balls because he's not going to separate. And you're talking about a guy, if he's going to be a little gimpish off of that, like, he does need to play that big slot situation.
He doesn't have a step to give you.
Right.
Even at his best last year, he was too slow. He couldn't separate. And it was to the point where, I think back to that horrible interception that Brock threw against the Rams on primetime. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what the hell was that? Well, there's a little bit of a miscommunication and all that. But what really was the entire season was Brock just throwing the ball to a spot and hoping Juwan Jennings would be there. Yeah. And that's what happened there, except it was the worst possible case. But he just threw it to a spot and hoped Juwan Jennings would be there, and Juwan Jennings was not there, and it turned the game. Not that anything would have changed in the season, but it was a great manifestation. You think about the first Rams game that they played and the amount of balls that were thrown to a Juwan Jennings who was not looking anywhere near the quarterback. He turned around, and the ball just hit him right here. He had no choice but to catch it. He's a great receiver. But that was their entire offense. They had no separation. Every team in the NFL watched the Super Bowl tape where the Kansas City Chiefs, as they had done multiple times in the regular season matchups, just went press man-to-man and said, you got to beat us off the line because we know Debo can't do it. That's why we won the Super Bowl. And we don't think Jennings can do it either. And the only guy who could beat anybody in press man-to-man last year as a man who was on the line was Ricky Pearsall, and that didn't happen until the season was done. So the entire season was about Brock just being like, I hope this works. I can't see him. I don't trust there's any separation. It's not even a 50-50 ball. He was throwing 80-20 balls out there, and it was 20 for Jennings, and Jennings kept winning. Credit to Jennings. Unbelievable player. But you're right. He needs that cushion, and that means that you need receivers who can win off the line of scrimmage against press man-to-man. You have it in Pearsall. I don't think you have it in Cowing. I don't think you have it in Gage. I don't think you have – maybe Robinson to a degree, but they've been using Robinson as a Z, which makes me think that they don't think that he can really beat off of the line, which is fair.
Ayuk.
It's Ayuk, and it's Ayuk. And here's the other thing: it was Jordan Watkins. Yeah. They used Jordan Watkins as the X repeatedly because Watkins, I can't quite explain it, but he can win off the line. He's been at the Devontae Adams school of first steps, and him being out is huge because he was going to start at X in week 1, given everything that was going down. I know Kyle Shanahan's first quote after they drafted him is, it's going to be hard for him to see the field. He was about to start at X, given the situations they got going on. So it's not to say that Brock can't make something out of it. It's just to say that the ceiling for this team for the first couple weeks, while they wait for a receiver to show up beyond the ones that they have, which is like me, Isaiah Hodgins, and Ricky Pearsall, and I can't separate, I'll tell you. I'm sure they're thinking, does Julio Jones still have it? Like, can we get him in a hyperbaric chamber?
Let's get OBJ finally in here.
I mean, legitimately, not a bad idea because I'm going through it like Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, they clearly looked at the health stuff. They looked at the financial ask, and they're going like, man, for 3 weeks, like that is a very expensive rental.
Right.
Like Odell Beckham Jr., probably the same thing. And I don't think he can separate anymore, but like I'm willing to take a shot if he's willing to come in for the cheap. Then you get into the problem of, okay, well, you're renting a car for 3 weeks in effect. What you need is a sports car.
Mm-hmm.
You know how expensive it is to rent a sports car? So do the 49ers fiscally want to do that? And by the way, if you have the sports car and then you get back your Honda Civic, you're going to be like, man, I kind of want to keep that sports car. So you get into that issue, which is what Kyle was kind of talking about, saying like, we don't want to mess anything up because at some point in the first couple of weeks here, by October, we're going to have a full complement of receivers because Jennings is going to be back. Watkins is going to be back. Robinson's going to be back. Like you'll have too many receivers at that point, legitimately. But in the meantime, you got to win football games, 2 of which are against your division. And thank God the Saints are there, because otherwise this could look really ugly.
You know, that's always been my thought process on everyone saying, why not Amari Cooper? Why not Keenan Allen? Because those guys have earned the cachet and have the experience to say, I'm not coming off the field whenever anybody comes back. I still deserve the football. And you can't, and that's why you see the ilk of receivers that they keep bringing in. Equinemius St. Brown and, and Andy Isabella. Like, you just need guys to fill roles. You can't. Right. You can't ask Keenan Allen to come in here for the price that he had and then say, well, Ayuk's back, we've got Pearsall, and, we still have Jennings, we'll find you to get in there.
Legitimately, they'd have to tell him, like, hey, can you come in here for a couple of weeks? We'll pay you good money on a prorated scale, and then we'll cut your ass.
Yeah.
Like, no one's signing up for that because there's another team that will just keep me the entire year. Right. And the Amari Cooper thing is just bizarre. I know that there was, kind of a flood of, he retired rumors, but I was hearing that's not new. I was hearing at the beginning of free agency that, quote, he didn't want to play football anymore, which more power to him. He had a hell of a career. He's a great player. Yeah. I think he still got something, not as much as he used to. He looked lost in Buffalo last year. Yeah. And there's a reason they moved on from him. But it's a big name. It's somebody who, in theory, should be able to help. But then you don't need the help. You don't need it because, again, at some point, Ayuk's coming back. So even if you were to just view the X receiver position, like you're not getting a full year out of your X receiver that you sign off the street for decent money. You're not getting a full year out of him no matter what. And in all likelihood, you're not getting anybody for 3 weeks of action that has any name cachet, because there are other teams that are going to be looking for that too. Looking for, if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, I'm looking at Amari Cooper because I got guys who are out for the year, not out for 3 weeks. It's a short term. They got a short term problem, but it's coming at the worst time.
Yeah. So with obviously with the offense where we're talking about, and just a little bit back on Juwan Jennings in that Rams game, right? I remember vividly watching the tape of that play, and I posted it on Twitter. That play was. The Rams played on a tendency which they understood what they were looking at, and the safety overplayed on Brandon Ayuk, it was a natural progression left to right.
Once Jennings,
and it was off of play action, right? So the safety falls on Ayuk because they had seen it before, and Kyle Shanahan said nope, and when he looks. He sees, and then he looks, and Jennings is wide open for the touchdown. And that was more based on the Rams playing on tendency and what they've seen, because it was a left to right natural progression where he looks, Ayuk's covered, bang, it's on Jennings. But the idea of this offense, right, is going to have to be on the back of George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey early on. It really just has to be. And I've been a proponent of, listen, I think the way to maximize Christian McCaffrey is to take some off his plate. Kyle Shanahan just showed you in this joint practice that that's not happening. As long as Christian McCaffrey's on the field.
Take anything off his plate? Jeff Wilson?
No, you would hope it would have been Isaac Guerrero, but it's not going to happen.
Or Jordan James. I mean, people were saying really nice things about Jordan James. I was on paternity leave. I didn't see it, but I heard good things. It ain't Patrick Taylor. It ain't Keyshawn Vaughn.
Nope.
People love Corey Kiner because everyone has to love one running back in training camp that has no chance of ever making it at the NFL level.
Right. Or the undrafted running back where you think that you're going to get something out of,
Right. I mean, it's just tales old as time. And I like Corey Kiner, but come on now. He plays really hard. Against third stringers. And then, which might as well be the 49ers starting defense at this point. And then I think Jeff Wilson looks good. I think Jeff Wilson's got a real shot to stick around, and that they might, keep him over Taylor if things go. It's the Christian McCaffrey show at the start. It's the George Kittle show at the start. It's the Ricky Pearsall show at the start. Is that a 1, 2, 3 that is a top 10 offense? Because legitimately, I look at this wide receiver room for the first 3 weeks, and you can make the argument it's the worst in the NFL just for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about Russell Gage taking significant snaps, I mean, Russell Gage is literally somebody that was an afterthought in this league, and the 49ers, he was supposed to be a guy that's supposed to be your wide receiver 5-6 that you're supposed
Right.
to, like your Chris Conley type.
Exactly. And legitimately, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, if Chris Conley was still on this team, Chris Conley would be starting at X, and we wouldn't even be talking about it. It would just be a thing that is happening, and we're all just going along with it. But he isn't here, and Russell Gage is absolutely supposed to be that sort of, old dog who can bring the puppies
Veteran.
along. And I think that's fine. I have no problem with Russell Gage. I feel like I'm shitting on him. It's unfair. He actually looks really good, but Russell Gage was never like an elite player, and he ain't that guy he was anymore. So yeah, it's a nice guy to have on your bench, but Russell Gage should be a guy that maybe you don't have on the 48 every week. And instead it's like, he's your number 2. Because until I see it from Cowing, and I would hope that they put Cowing out there with whatever the hell the first string of this offense is at whatever.
Well, we're gonna find out in a little bit. I think after walkthrough, because Kyle said he's waiting for walkthrough to figure out if the starters are gonna play.
So I mean, if nothing else, I mean, we'll get the Chargers game in theory. Cowing needs to perform. Cowing needs to look markedly better than he looked last preseason, because there's no regular season evidence to go off of. Like, he needs to kind of be the man out there, and then you're feeling okay, a little bit better. Like, it's not good, but you're feeling like, okay, Cowing's a player. Like, we haven't even talked about Junior Bergen. Junior Bergen might be getting really serious snaps. Like, the whole point of Junior Bergen was, okay, yeah, returner, and he looks good at that. I mean, limited sample, but like, he looks good at that. You can't be putting him out there in formation. If that's happening, red flags.
We're in trouble.
I mean, I'm not sure what he was getting up against in the Big Sky Conference last year when he was a mediocre receiver in the Big Sky. I have to think that the Seattle Seahawks are a little better.
Well, and my question too, Dieter, is we're getting closer and closer to the 53-man roster. Can the 49ers afford to have him on the 53 as one of the receivers if he just primarily is a returner, when you would probably think that you would need a guy who, in a pinch, would have to get out there and actually contribute snaps?
Yeah, I think that they can get away with it, because I think they'll end up keeping 6 with him sort of as a designated special team guy. I think you almost treat him like a long snapper at this point. And that lends itself to something that has been very good for the 49ers, which is their special teams. Like, they have focused immensely. Brant Boyer has been given a full mandate, and they look really good at it. They look really good at it. Maybe because they're practicing it for like the first time ever, and like, I don't know, running drills that might be apropos to playing special teams at the NFL level. It's wild. They're running drills that I had never seen before, and I thought, wow, this is really innovative. And then I thought, no, actually, this might be the norm. And they just don't do this normally under previous special teams coordinators. Richard Hightower, shout out. But I would keep 6, and they can get away with that to a degree because of the ability to put veterans on the practice squad and call them up. And I think that they can get a little funky when we're talking about like an Isaiah Oliver. And also, I mean, this is a real sicko deep cut, but like, Saran Neal looks like he's running with the second team on special teams. Isn't his entire thing that he's supposed to be a special
teamer? Yeah.
So I don't know if, I've seen a couple of 53s, and I'm not going to impugn anybody's character here that have been put out there, but like, I think people just have Saran Neal, in permanent marker on making this team because, Brant Boyer brought him in. He got, $2 million or whatever. And like, he's in, like, I have actually, because I'm a deranged person, I've been watching very specifically who lines up on like kick coverage drills. And he ain't lining up with the first team on kick coverage drills. And if he ain't lining up on the first team, like, what is it you do here, sir? So right. I wouldn't be shocked if that's an open roster spot for him. And the other thing too is with all these injuries, like, things will take care of themselves in a lot of ways. I think they keep 6, with one being Bergen, who never sees the field for any appreciable offensive snaps.
Hopefully. For 54 minutes, guys. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
54 minutes, guys. Thank you guys for joining. We'll do about 5 more minutes, and I have an interesting way to pivot because you did mention who the third preseason game is, and God help me, I guess I wasn't thinking down the line, but I am going to be dreading that week. I am going to be dreading that week so badly, guys. If you're in here, guys, drop a like on here, drop a subscribe. Obviously, follow Dieter on Twitter, and the YouTube channel. I'm sure that you guys do. The Chargers. All right, God help me, because I have been sick with the discourse already. And you know what I'm talking about. The Trey Lance and Jim Harbaugh stuff. I'm sick of it. And I'm going to be sick this entire week. I don't want to hear any of it. All right. First of all, the Jim Harbaugh thing being romanticized as this, like, Lord and Savior in khakis. Okay. I love that Jim Harbaugh era. Jim Harbaugh gave me some of the greatest moments and some of the most hurtful moments. Sounds like a guy that coaches us now. But this whole Trey Lance and Jim Harbaugh thing, right? And how this has somehow become rhetoric to, well, it's my show, I can say it, to shit on Kyle Shanahan. I really, really dislike it because, first of all, Trey Lance completing 50% of his passes isn't some sort of, oh my God, he's figured it out, right? And I think it was Greg Cosell who said these reads that are out there are what high school quarterbacks should be able to hit. Somehow, this has turned into Trey Lance has figured it out. No, Trey Lance is operating at a competent level, which is so much higher than it was when he was a 49er. People assume that it is this great leap, which it is a leap, but it's not great. Dieter, please tell me that I'm not tripping, because Jim Harbaugh got his ass beat by the Houston Texans with the Chargers in the first round. If that was Kyle Shanahan, they would have ran him out of town. But somehow, that does not get brought up at all about Jim Harbaugh. All you hear about is what Trey Lance has done in these first 2 weeks, how much he's a leader of men, and how I wish he was here. And Shanahan, you know what's funny? He blew Super Bowls, he blew NFC Championship games, so did Shanahan, and yet Harbaugh is lifted up as this guy that we need to have back. For what? So we can do the same things over and over again? Dieter, I'm sorry I went and I
No,
went
it's a beautiful thing.
The rest. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Not go for it.
I mean, last year was the first year of Jim Harbaugh Chargers, and he's a hell of a football coach. And they needed him desperately, right? That was a operation that was going off the rails. I mean, the Chargers have never exactly been a first-class organization with the Spanos family in charge, but they finally figured out, hey, maybe we should spend some of this money that we make every year, and instead of putting it in our own pockets, what if we were to, I don't know, hire a competent football coach, a championship football coach. Might not be NFL, but he's a champion football coach. That was year zero for him, right? I can appreciate that he had a much more stock cupboard than Kyle Shanahan ever got in San Francisco. But, like, we're going to find out about Jim Harbaugh. We're going to find out about the Chargers this year, because they should, in theory, and I love a lot of their signings, and I love the direction, and I love their identity.
The Rashawn Slater thing is down. That sucks.
It sucks, but, hey, people were saying, don't take Joe Alt. Don't take Joe Alt. How happy are
Joe Alt right over.
And I am a firm believer, maybe this is just the old offensive lineman in me talking, but, like, anyone who glorifies the offensive line at the head coaching position the way that Jim Harbaugh does, like, you're not getting bad words out of me. And
Sure.
And he is 100% right about this. The offensive line is the only position group that helps every other position group on the football field. Obviously helps the run game, helps the pass game, quarterback, go down the line. Anybody on offense, you don't have a good offensive line, it's all falling apart. Ask Joe Burrow. It also helps the defense. Because if that defense is, hey, we're 3 and out again, guy got sacked, we're 3 and out again, how's that defense going to play? I mean, ask any Chip Kelly Eagles team how those defenses felt. Because they were just, we're going to go. Well, that means that I'm on the field for like 60 snaps again. I'm dying out here. It is hot. It is cold. I do not want to be out here right now. It is hard to play. So much of defense is about having the right temperament and mentality, having that crazy, willing to take somebody else's soul. Like, you have to have it. Pretty hard to be out there as the Grim Reaper when you're feeling sorry for yourself. So offensive line and the ability to run the ball, control the ball, and dominate the line of scrimmage and enforce your will on another team. Like, it helps the defense immensely. That's their identity. We'll see what it manifests to this year and if their players are good enough. But Jim Harbaugh knows one way. That way, I think, still works at a very high level. And the Trey Lance stuff, I mean, y'all can have it. I've gotten my jokes off. But, Trey Lance had a good preseason for the Cowboys last year. How'd that go? How's that working out? Kyle Trask was going to be the next thing last year. Zach Wilson, maybe not so much Zach Wilson. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, preseason legend. Clayton Tune, preseason legend. Skylar Thompson, preseason legend.
Well, now it's Tanner McKee now. Tanner McKee can start for a bunch of teams.
No, the Eagles, I heard, so dumb. I heard some Eagles folks being like, I wouldn't take a second-round pick for Tanner McKee right now.
I would drive him to whatever team for that.
You could give me a 2037 second-round pick, and I would give you Tanner McKee. Again, not to impugn Tanner McKee. He's fine. Yeah. He's fine. You know who else was really good in the preseason a lot? Save for the year he was with the Niners? Nate Sudfeld. I remember Nate Sudfeld as like a preseason legend for the Eagles way back in the day. So, Joe Milton, preseason legend. How's that looking? Like, Tim Boyle gives you Jake Hattner, Adrian Martinez. We can go down the list. Preseason quarterback play can mean something. Like Brock Purdy won himself a job, right?
He did.
All credit in the world to him. I'm not saying, Russell Wilson comes in. They just signed Matt Flynn, wins himself a job. There are exceptions to this rule. But if you want to read into preseason, and the Greg Cosell line is perfect, if you want to read into preseason quarterback play as some sort of true predictor of what's going to happen, I'd recommend you look at any preseason, Easton Stick, any preseason in the history of the NFL, particularly in the last 15 years, and just try to figure out the correlation. Just find it for me. There are exceptions to the rule, but find me the correlation between success in the preseason as a quarterback and success in the NFL regular season, because as you said, as Cosell said, they're running the vanilla stuff. That's not what happens come week one. That's part of my worry with Seattle. You want to talk about vanilla? They got some exotic flavors. They are working the full depth of the palette over in Seattle, and they are trying to do basic stuff, and it still looks crazy in the preseason. What happens when they ramp it up? And so the idea of a Greg Roman offense, which is going to be run first, simple reads, specifically one read, all this
tight
stuff.
Ends.
Tight end. Yeah, exactly. Stick. Like all of that to say that Trey Lance has turned a corner. I hope he has. For his sake, I hope he has. Mm-hmm. But let me put it to you this way. If you can find all 7 Chargers fans in the world and you can put it to them and you say, hey, do you feel like Trey Lance can get you to the playoffs if Justin Herbert, breaks his ankle in week 2? I mean, I think 7 out of 7 would say, nah, we're cooked. And they'd be right.
And, this is, again, I'm rooting for Trey Lance. It's not that. Yeah. Again, it's just the little success that he's had is being used to slander Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, you spend too much time on Twitter, Jason. That's what I'm
Yeah, that's 1,000% true. But I do want to say this. Can you objectively look me in the face and say that Trey Lance today, right now, even with everything that he's done in this preseason, is a better quarterback than Taylor Heineke is, and he's on the same roster as him?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I'm a pretty deranged, sick individual, but I've never even had that cross my mind. No, I can't.
So he's the 3rd quarterback on his team. He's not even pushing the second guy. That Heineke's not.
I don't know
playing.
if he might be pushing him. He might be pushing him.
Maybe, but
there's a conversation to be had. I'll tell you this: you don't want to be having the conversation about which one of those guys you want to start if you need to win a football game.
I mean, that's 100% true. 100% true. What I mean is like they're giving Trey the entire preseason because. Why wouldn't you, right? Like, and I think them keeping Taylor Heineke away is like, we know what we have here with this guy. We're not,
That's a valid point. Yeah.
We're not throwing him out there because we're learning something
He's
about it.
He's their Stetson Bennett.
Exactly, right? So like, and it's not a bad thing. Like if Justin Herbert misses one game and you've got to throw Taylor Heineke out there, good. You're gonna run the ball 50 fucking times and you're just gonna get out of there with whatever it is that you get out of there, right? But like the thing is he's still, in my opinion, the 3rd best quarterback on this roster. Now, the margins have gotten slimmer when it comes to those two. It's gotten a lot closer, and I guess the upside...
He was the 3rd overall pick. What are we talking about?
I know. And the upside is far bigger, right? Like, if you can unlock something. Yeah. But it's just, look, I'm rooting for Trey Lance. I think the kid's great. I wanted him to work out here more than anybody, just as anybody did. But it's the rhetoric that's being thrown out there. And yeah, you're right. You're right. I got to get on Twitter.
That's a you problem because
oh yeah, 100%.
You can't tame these people. They're looking for something to yell about. And as somebody who is angry without Twitter, let me tell you, it ain't good. I'm going to say this last thing about Trey Lance, and then we will leave it forever because it apparently is going to mess up your annual physical. Is he any faster?
No.
Is his arm any more accurate? Maybe. I don't know. Hard to tell.
You guys are open.
Yeah, he didn't hit those guys in the past, so okay, maybe there's something there. Does he feel any more competent? We'll see once they speed this thing up. My issue with Lance is that he was never. In full disclosure, I was a advocate of Lance over Mac Jones. I mean, I preferred Justin Fields to all of them.
Dieter, thank you.
But by the way, not exactly an ideal pick there either.
No, I mean but he's the starter. He's a starter, and he's been.
What team's he on now?
Yeah, the Jets. I mean, he's going to be a starter on his third team. I wanted Justin Fields as well too, though.
Well, so regardless, everyone got it wrong.
Yeah,
everyone got everything wrong.
Yep.
In that draft. I mean, even the one pick wrong. So all of this to say that I remember the first moment you see him in OTAs and you go, oh, this is interesting. It's different. They're trying some stuff out, but it's not real football. And I remember first day of pads training camp and Jimmy's on that side field, right?
Yep. I was there. I remember.
And Lance goes back and you could just see deer in the headlights. Okay.
Yep.
You got to give some level of deference first go around coming from, first time playing football in a long time. Totally understand that. And that keeps going on. Okay, fine. What really stood out was I'm standing next to my man, Jake Hutchinson, Dieter and Hutch Pod, and they run a designed quarterback run. It's a quarterback draw. Everybody go. Trey, you wait, see the hole, hit the hole, run. And they run that play, and he takes his first two steps, and I audibly said, oh, no.
Very slow.
He's so slow. And the whole point was that he was supposed to be you want the Lamar Jackson married. Who was you want Lamar Jackson with
Drew Brees?
With Drew Brees. That's right. Yeah. That's what you want. I covered Lamar Jackson in high school. I've watched we all know Lamar Jackson. Let me just tell you, oh no, is not a pejorative statement you make when you watch Lamar Jackson play football. You say, oh no, because he's about to do something to the defense that is going to stand the test of time on highlight films in perpetuity. I mean, that, oh no, as in like, y'all messed up letting that guy get loose. Mm-hmm. This case, it was, oh no, he just got run down by a third string linebacker with no foot speed. He's slow as hell. And what happened in the first couple weeks of that season, Kyle tried to run the offense, and Trey Lance was so slow. And this is going to come across as overly harsh. It is fundamentally unfair. But the fact of the matter is he was so slow that he had his leg broken because he was so easy to tackle. Now, it was like that the entire time. This is not a what-if story. This was an oh-no story from the jump because all of that theoretical talent and potential, it has never shown up on an NFL field where people are playing football in any earnestness ever. It's never been there. It was never lost because he never had it. So the idea that Trey Lance, a little older, a little wiser, is somehow now going to break through, he's not a pocket passer of the highest caliber, never has been, never will be. And the thing that was supposed to make him a viable NFL quarterback was his running ability, and the dude is too slow. And he sure as hell didn't get any faster in the last couple of years.
Wow. I mean, that's the perfect way to talk about it. But again, I'll always root for Trey. I have nothing against him. I think he's a great
unbelievable guy.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 dude. He'll hang around in the NFL for a long time because it's impossible to dislike Trey Lance on a personal level. But you watch his film and you will hate him.
Right. I mean, and people will always give those type of guys that have been taken that highly always second, third, fourth,
Totally.
fifth chances always, and you're
And
always
they
going to try
should.
to bank on it.
They
Yeah,
should. No one.
absolutely.
It's not like you drafted him third overall or anything.
No, I mean it's not like you traded a bunch of first round
No, it's
picks
fine.
or anything like
It's
that.
fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
no, it's fine. Dieter, thank you so much, man, for joining me. Dieter, tell them where they could find you and everything that you've got going on.
Yeah, column San Jose Mercury News, East Bay Times, Twitter for the takes that are the hottest at Dieter Dieter, and then the Dieter and Hutch podcast, which comes out a couple times a week, and we'll do I'll do a show after tomorrow's game because my man Hutch decided that he needed to go live his life and spend time in Hawaii like a loser.
I mean,
Meanwhile, I'm doing some cool stuff like watching Raiders 49ers preseason.
Touching grass is all right here and there. I've been because I'm from Jersey.
Yeah.
Dieter, I don't know, you know that. Like we yeah. But
I've talked to you for an hour. I figured it out.
Yeah, I was so sick. Well, for an hour, that's true. I was a sicko, and I was watching the Giants and Bills film just because I wanted to see what Jackson Dart's got going on. And man, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, we'll see. Brian Dable's a good coach. They got a good receiver room, a sneaky receiver room, and listen. My concern with Jackson Dart, I want to get into it. This is a personal preference.
Yeah.
My concern with Jackson Dart coming out wasn't that he didn't have the moxie, the vision, the mobility, the arm. He's got a lot of things going for him. He's also a bedwetter. You watch Ole Miss last year, they were the most frustrating team in college football. That was a national championship caliber roster. They had 4 NFL wide receivers. Their offensive line was good enough. They had really good running backs. They had a defense with some dudes, absolute dudes. That team should have been unquestionably in the playoffs. That team should have been knocking on the door for an SEC championship. That was the best team that money could buy. And I use that phrase very specifically. And Jackson Dart threw away, and I mean this, threw away 3 games. That loss to Kentucky is a kind of tape that you watch and you will never unsee. So best of luck to Jackson Dart, but I am never betting on him. He's good enough to get you to a moment that means something, but he ain't getting over that hump. And I'm clip it right now. I'll gladly eat my words down the line. But he is a bedwetter, and all you needed to watch was Ole Miss last year with everything for him.
Trey Harris is a dog. I love him.
Dude, they got dudes. They have they had absolute dudes on that team. It's not like they lack for coaching. They got a $2.5 million defensive coordinator and Lane Kiffin calling the offense. That team, had they snuck into the playoffs, would have been a semifinalist. They were as good as any team in the country, but Jackson Dart could not win a big game. And even in games that they had no business losing, like Kentucky, he just decided, what if I found a way to lose this game for us? I can't unsee it. I'm not totally in on this whole, there are some quarterbacks that are winners. There are some quarterbacks that are losers. It's obviously a lot more gray, but I need a quarterback who rises to the occasion. And the one thing that I can say after watching every snap that Jackson Dart took last year is that dude, and we'll leave the off-field stuff because there's some weird stuff going on there too, but that dude is not someone who rises to the occasion. Luckily, he's with the Giants, so there won't be that many of those occasions anytime soon.
100%. I'm gonna clip this and send this to all my Giants fans friends.
Good.
So I could throw some water on there.
Good. Send them the Kentucky Ole Miss tape too. You should send them that.
I definitely have that as well too. But Dieter, again, man, thank you so much. Appreciate you, bro.
Anytime, Jason.
We'll definitely do this again during the season and everything
good,
as well too. And guys, stick around in 15 minutes. Sprint right option with Andrew Pasquini. You're getting double back to back. We're cooking over here, man. It's time, man. I've been waiting around for football season for so long. I just can't stop. Trying to get stuff done. But Dieter, thank you again, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you so much, man. And thank you for the insight. Guys, see you in a little bit. Let's go Niners.